right, now next lesson. All right, we only have about 12 minutes for the next question. Now, the question goes like that. Many older people recommend playing Mahjong. Those of you who do not know Mahjong, it's a Chinese, it's not a card game, but it's a brick game, little bricks, all right? They shuffle around. Mahjong. Many older people recommend Mahjong to make the mind active. Some adults also recommend poker. Young ones, you know what is poker? Julius, what's poker? Good that you don't know. It's not taking a stick and poke people, all right? It's some card game. Card games. Some recommend poker and blackjack, another card game, for the same reason. What are the dangers in doing this? All right, so someone asked. Because it's very common. Just like when I was visiting an elderly, the person said, you know, this Zhonghua association keeps coming to her home after Uncle Sito died and say, hey, Auntie Sito, come to our association. Come, we have Mahjong games every day. Mahjong helps you to keep your mind active, all right? And or some will tell you, play all this. Maybe young ones also. You obviously know this is not a kid asking, all right? This and a parent asking. So maybe your child asks you, Daddy, I want to play with this computer game and that computer game. All right? Is it all right? So the same principle applies. What do you think, parent? Okay, Laura. All right? One of your child says, Mommy, can I play some of these card games or Mahjong? I want to learn a cultural game to keep my mind active. What would you say? Say again? There are different ways of keeping your mind active. But they say, but a lot of people say that this is good. All right, then Daddy comes in to the room. What? All right. John, what will you say? Not related to spiritual things. They do many non-spiritual things, in a sense. All right, depends what you mean by spiritual. I think I understand what you say. But when you say not spiritual, what do you mean? Because studying is not per se on surface a spiritual activity. All activities are spiritual in a sense. We have a spiritual purpose. Not spiritual means? Then Daddy say, don't ask so many things. Not spiritual, go. All right? But I think I know where you're going. And even this person will ask, what are the dangers? That's what the parents are saying. There are many things that you can do that may not expose you to certain dangers. Don't have to be this. Now, these are usually associated with gambling. All right, that is the point. Very often associated, the association is with gambling. That's why you say it's not spiritual. It means it's gambling associated. All right? How can you think about these things? All right, so number one, yes, we would not recommend, we would not encourage. And if people ask, we should tell our children or each other. Now, there are many ways to keep your mind active. But why choose things that are associated with gambling? What for? Right? And I do not, yeah. Now, so association. Now, so you just copy this verse. I'll read to you. 1 Corinthians 8:13. Now, 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Abstain from all appearance of evil. That's a biblical principle. Now, think of this. When you're there, when you're playing, and other people who are non-Christians, they associate these things with gambling, all right? Typically, I won't say always, all right? And then they say, oh, you're a Christian. You tell us you're a Christian. Oh, Christians gamble as well. Appearance of evil, stumbling, causing potential problem for your witness. You may say, but Pastor, I'll do all these things, but I won't put money on it. It doesn't matter. They do not know. They still see people collecting money. Oh, you don't want the money? All right. But they still see the appearance of evil. All right. Avoid it. Now, in fact, 1 Corinthians 8:13, wherefore if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend. What happens if a weaker brother? oh, maybe gambling is all right. Or maybe a weaker brother who used to be in these gambling things and said, well, playing without using money is all right. But understand the second principle, temptation. Temptation to yourself, and you could stumble and cause another brother to be tempted. They play without money, and then slowly they go back to money, right? So, association, temptation. Now, what does God say? In 1 Corinthians 10:12, wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. Now, these are principles that you can apply to this question and any other question, all right, teens? If you see a computer game that your friend plays, would you play it? What is the association? What is the temptation for you? But say, well, they are not sinful things. It's just like, just water bottles pouring on each other, right? Some of these advertisements, like pour water, and pour different color water, and try to fill the bottle with the same color water. It's not sinful or anything. All right, so I asked Cornelius. Oh, keep asking the same family. Maybe I ask Elim, all right, Elim? They said, but Daddy, it's just pouring water. There's no association of anything evil or anything in your mind. Or maybe your friends tell you that, Elim is just this. Would you want to play it? Straight away, you say, oh yeah, it's not sinful. No? Why? Give a reason. You might become what? Thirsty. You might become addicted. Is that what I say? Addicted. I might become addicted. Yes, it may not be something sinful, but I just can't put it down. Addiction. All right? So whatever you choose, be careful. You say, I won't fall. But God says, be careful. So the choice of things. Now, I'm not saying that we cannot do anything then. All right? But always have these principles in the foremost of your mind. Remember that. Now, what about the time that you spend there? Ask yourself that. What it is. The Mahjong game, I don't play Mahjong, so try to find out. Anyone have played Mahjong before? How many hours did it take? Okay, Claude, how many hours? Not asking you to confess. I'm just saying, how many hours is it typically a Mahjong game? No, I played a few times. 3-4 hours. 3 or 4 hours, all right? So about that. I checked the internet, they say 2 to 3 hours. All right, so you must not be a good Mahjong player, all right? 4 hours. All right, they take turns to so-called lead it, and so on. Amount of hours. So if there is something that you want to do to work your brain, don't choose something that will take so much time, right? Right? So some of the question to ask. Then what about friendships? I think someone said, who do you play this with? Now typically people want to play this unbelievers. Most of the Christians say, I stay away from these things. Appearance of evil. They rope you in, then you're among them. How much? 3 or 4 hours with unbelievers. I know what some of you say, right? What will you say, Jonathan? Oh, I share the gospel. They are captive with me for 3-4 hours of gospel sharing. How would you answer that? I think most people won't do that. Well, you can try, but the good thing is, most likely after that one game, you will not be invited back, right? Right? So you're still not going to have that to work on your brain. Right? The friendships that the things that you'll be talking about, even not sinful things, who you spend that many hours with to strengthen your brain. But what are you talking about? What are you doing? What will they be talking about? So now many of these things are problems. So it is not just Mahjong, poker, blackjack. Anything that the Christian wonder about. Think about these principles, all right? These principles. So addiction. Now, so still the child asks, but Daddy, I want to strengthen my brain. Okay, then I ask another parent. No, or ask a child, ask children, ask teens. Jemima, are you able to answer? All right, Jemima. All right. So Josiah asked you that, right? And you're still trying to catch your breath, right? Recovering from your illness, trying to catch your breath, and you will explain to Josiah. What are some options you will give to Josiah for him to strengthen his brain? I know you say, help me to cook, I know. And help me to do some housework. There are some puzzles. There are some puzzles that you can play with, right? Puzzles you play on your own, something that you can do your own. Now, I do some of this, all right? At one time I found that my brain kind of like struggled with focusing, which is not good for preaching. So I downloaded Mastermind. Because when I was young, I played Mastermind. I played with my mother, right? My mother is not here. I don't think Sharon wants to play with me. But the good thing today in Mastermind is computer form. You play against the computer, right? So I do some of that. And it's quick, all right? It does teach you to focus, help you to focus, think logically. I've stopped doing that, all right? Anyway, but yes, there are puzzles. There are some of these things, short time, that help you focus. That's fine. So don't think of something that has association problems, that has how much time you spend, the temptation problems, and all that. Yeah, there are other options. What else? Lastly, quickly, pay. Or Sarah, what else would you recommend? Okay, Pei say, nowadays I think I'm growing old. Memory failing me. Wife, forget your name even. So what wife? I'm Sarah. Right? Wife, they say, Sarah, you forgot my name, right? They say, then what would you recommend him to do? Say again? Memory verse. Memorize verses. Right? Go do memory verse with our boy. Right? Memory verses. Now, turn to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4. We studied this for many months, or was it years? Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Now, we went through this entire series. Now, let's read together. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. What does God tell us to occupy our minds with? Scriptures. Well, many of these things here, obviously. Where can you get the definition of all these things? Scriptures. Yes, memorize the Word of God. Memorizing the Word of God makes you use your mind a lot more than you think. All right? You got the sequence wrong. You missed out certain words, and then you try again. Yes, you can use that. Now, know this. The protection of our mind is not through these games. You must know the protection of our minds is through God. Yes, some of these things, human responsibility-wise, can help you. But please don't think that you need those things. To the point where I say, even if it's association with evil, even if it stumble people, even if it's sinful, I'll just do it because I need my mind to be clear when I'm old, or for me to take exams. Don't do that. Trust that the Lord is the one that keeps your mind. Now, Mrs. Arnott, right up to the very last breath of her life, all these months that when we visit her, her mind, when it comes to things spiritual, when it comes to things, she's very clear. I showed her pictures of our extension, and months later, she remembers. So many of you visit her, at times, yes, she may be forgetful, but she remembers a lot of things very clearly, scriptures and hymns. Did she have so many years in the nursing home play with these things? No. She was always in bed, praying, memorizing scriptures. She always had a Bible with her. To the point where she cannot have it anymore, her mind was still clear. It's God, number one. And if you use your mind for scriptures, God will help. And if God chooses to make you have certain diseases, that your memory fails, then so be it. All right, so please don't come to a point where you say, my mind is so important, I'll do even sinful things to keep it going. Now, at the end of the day, we have to search our hearts. Sometimes questions like that is, some Christians, they just want to play those things. Of course, not this person, he says that it's dangerous. Do we really want to obey God? Teens, you tell daddy and mom, I must play this kind of game, must play that kind of game. It's good for me. You tell your wife or you tell your husband. Is it really because of that, or is this a desire, an addiction? All right? What do we have here? Top 5 reasons why church dropouts, what church dropouts say, why they stop attending church. Now, please remember 66% of, well, I take the American view, they are the most readily available results. They stop attending church at least a year after turning 18. So from